Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're rating champions in the jungle role, and we're going to try to both talk about the champions a bit and rate them within these categories. So how strong they are in the meta, how good they are to improve on, how good they are to climb on, how fun they are, and how good they are to OTP. So we start with Amumu. So this champion in the meta, in terms of jungling, is not that amazing. Like, if I show you here, he has negative win rate, and he just doesn't win that much in jungle. He is much better on support, with the issue being that, first of all, he doesn't like level 3 ganks as much, the camps don't matter that much, and his kit in general is just not the best for jungle compared to support right now. So in terms of how good he is in the meta in jungle, I think I would say like a 2 out of 5. He's like below average, but not that horrible. We can also say 4 out of 10. I don't know. Maybe out of 10 is like easier to imagine. So we're gonna give him a 4 out of 10 in that. For improvement, he is not the worst. So I would say he's like a strong maybe like 7. I'll give you the reasoning for that also. So the reason I think that he is okay for improving is because he can gank and he can clear. And also he's not too difficult to play. And it's just fine. The reason I wouldn't rate him higher than a 7 out of 10 is because he lacks some options in jungle. For example, he lacks the option to invade, he lacks the option to fight the enemy jungle, unless he plays against something like really weak early, like Evelynn or something, in which case he just one-shots her with 2 Qs usually, but against normal jungle champions that people actually play, he kind of struggles to fight them. So for climbing, I would say that in lower elos he's like really good. So until something like gold, he's probably like an 8 or a 9. But then after like flat, like let's say from diamond and above, I would say that he's more like a he just like tapers off. He's like first like a 6 or a 7, and then he's like a 5 or a 4. And I think in the end we're gonna say that for low elo he's like an 8 or something, or a 9. Let's just say, I don't know, 8. And then for high elo he's like a 5 maybe. Not like the worst, not completely unplayable, but not good either. And we can average it to like a solid 6 or something, or a 7. How fun is he? I mean, that's kind of for you to determine, but I would say that he's not that fun. So we're gonna give him a rating of like 5. He's like not completely anti-fun, but I wouldn't really say that he's too fun of a champ. And how good he is to OTP? What I would say here is that the way I rate this is how champions slot into team comps, how often they're banned, how often they're picked, how many drafts are unplayable for them, and so on. And I would say that for Amumu, most drafts are decently playable, so I would give him like a solid 8 or something in that for this. So yeah, pretty decent champ overall, especially if you're low elo, because in low elo his strength in the meta is actually much higher than in high elo. For example, if we look at something like silver, right, then Amumu is actually an S plus tier pick, and he wins quite a lot. See, like bronze, silver, gold, he wins quite a bit. But where the fuck is he in gold? Oh, here. But you can see that what I said happens pretty much, where after plat he like starts to go down, and by the time you reach diamond he is not doing so well anymore, and then as you keep going higher he does worse and worse. So that's that for Amumu. Next up we're gonna go over Bel'veth, I guess. So Bel'veth in the meta, I mean, this champ is not being played so much at the moment, but it still wins quite a lot. And if you look at high elo, this champ is still like picked quite a bit, and banned quite a bit and wins quite a bit. But this champ does not win in low elo. So like, where is it even here? So yeah, see, this champ is like the opposite of Amumu. So like the lower you go, the less it wins. But within the meta itself, the champ is like pretty good. I would say it's like not like the peak of meta, but I think it's like pretty good. But this champ is like broken by design, I think. So then for improvement, this champ is actually probably like one of the better ones in terms of what it can do. The problem is just that it has a few too many dashes and stuff, so it has like the Riven Yasuo and stuff problem, where it has too many options, so you can get overwhelmed and you can cope by thinking, oh well, if I dashed like this, or if I mechanically played it like this, then I would actually win. So I would say that in terms of improvement, it's actually probably worse than Amumu, simply because you have too many options in your kit. So if you had all of the same jungle options, like you were still able to invade and farm and gank and everything in between, but it didn't have so many dashes and stuff, then it would be a lot better for improving. In terms of climbing, I think this champion is really good. So yeah, if you can play this, I think it's like really good. It's like hard carry, it has so many options and stuff, so seems good. Fun, I mean, I don't know. I don't play this champ, but I would imagine it's like pretty fun since it's like Yasuo and jungle, so I'm gonna give it like an 8 or something. And then how good is it to OTP? I think this champ is actually quite good to OTP. The only issue you have with this champ is that if you get completely outranged, then you should not pick it. Like, I think you cannot deal with people completely outranging you and your team's comp being bad as well at the same time for you. Then we have like Diana. This champ should do fine in every elo, but it might have a low win rate in low elo. And that is because you actually have to use her stuff. So yeah, here it's like pretty low. It's not like that high. And then it usually has like a even lower win rate in high elo, but it actually does like pretty decently in high elo. Which is an interesting paradox. People pick it anyway, but it doesn't win a lot. But it's still like decent. The problem is just that a lot of the time when people do pick it, they pick it because they're autofilled or something. And then it does like not so well when autofill plays it. If you can actually utilize the stuff that she does do well, like what this champion does really well is farm up, take objectives, then have innate value from her ult, and also be able to take all of the enemy camps really easily, then she can actually win a decent amount. The problem for her also at the moment is the fact that people highly prefer to level 3 gank, and like your level 3 ganks as Diana are not good. Just not good. So we're gonna put her like at a 6 or something. I think she's decent, but she's not amazing. In terms of improvement, we're gonna say that she is like a 7 or something. The champ is pretty simple. It's like one of the easier champs in the game to play. Like I think you can be pretty handless and play this, but she does have the issue of not being able to invade and stuff as easily, so you can't learn that stuff properly with her. Then for climbing, we're gonna say that this champ is, again, like something a bit above average, but not amazing again. For fun, I mean, I don't know, for most people this champ is pretty fun, but for me it's like really boring. But I don't know, I think I would again say that she's like a bit above average. She's not like the most boring, but I don't think she's that fun either. And then for OTPing, the big issue that she has in terms of OTPing is that even though she has two builds, AP and Bruiser, the problem is you don't want to be in high AP comps, and also you're pretty bad into some comps and stuff. So again, I would say that she's like a bit above average because you have stuff you can do. And she's not horrible, but she's not amazing to OTP either. So in the end, this champ is going to be just like a bit above average, but not that recommended to play. Ekko is gonna be pretty much the same thing, but more fun. So like, also I think he's better in the meta as well. Like if we look at Ekko, then this champ always actually wins a lot. But where the fuck is he? Man, I'm like blind or something. There. 49. Looks like a decent amount considering that he is a very OTP champ. Like, if a champ has a 7% pick rate and 50% win rate as an OTP champ, then it's winning quite a lot. That's kind of the idea there. So in the meta, like, better than Diana at least, like a 7 or an 8. We're gonna say that for improvement, he is not the best, because he has a pretty cheesy playstyle. He also is kind of unique and doesn't translate that well into other champs, so we're gonna give him like a 6 or something. Because at least he does have some options. Not like the worst. I mean, honestly, not even a 6. I would just say it's like a 5. I really don't think he's that amazing for improving. Oh yeah. Then for climbing, he is... I think he's like really good for climbing because he carries really hard with a small lead. He also seems more fun than Diana and stuff, so I'm also gonna give him like an 8 here. Then for OTPing, I think he's also like pretty decent. He does have the issue of wanting to be solo AP if possible, but I think it's fine enough. He can also deal with a lot of comps, and also you could experiment with different builds, so pretty solid champ overall. You won't improve that much on it, but other than that, it's not too bad. Okay, so next up is Elise, who just got nerfed, and she's gonna get nerfed again next patch in terms of like the way the jungle works is getting nerfed. And we're hoping that that champ will then fall in win rate, which it should. And yeah, at the moment in the meta, it's probably like a 7 or an 8. It's not as amazing as it was before, but still not horrible. But maybe next patch is gonna be lower. I'm gonna give it a 7 for now. Then in terms of improvement, this champ is horrible for improving. Like, I'm gonna give you like a 3 or a 2. Like, this champ, you have everything that you don't want. It has one specific playstyle you play every single game, which is level 3 ganking playstyle, and at the same time, it has like an overloaded kit where you can always scope and say, well, I could have repelled that, and I could have hit that cocoon, and this and that, and in the end, it's just like not a good place to be in terms of improvement. In terms of climbing, though, it's like kind of the opposite, because even if you're a bit of an NPC, you're going to climb on this, likely. At least a little bit, when it's in the meta, so we're gonna give it a 7 or an 8 there as well. In terms of fun, I find it pretty boring, but a lot of people will find it fun, so I'll give it like a 7. And in terms of how good it is to OTP, it has the same issue as these champs where, I mean, for most of the AP champs in jungle, you're gonna find the same issue where you want to be solo AP if possible, or at worst be double AP. But the problem is that your support and mid lane will often pick AP, and when they pick AP, if you pick a third AP, I mean, it's playable, but it's kind of bad at that point. And if your top laner picks AP as well, then, I don't know, you're just depressed. Like, really depressed. Especially if one of them picks, like, tank or something, and then they cope and say, yeah, I'm not AP, I'm tank. and it doesn't help you in any way. You need like 80 sources of damage so that the enemy can't just stack MR, or if they do, they get punished by 80 damage. It's also not the best in every single draft, so we're gonna give it like a 6 here. So yeah, not the worst, but more of like a champ that you just pick to abuse it for a bit and get some elo and then move on. Unless you're like committed to it, in which case, I mean, fair enough. So for Evelynn, at the moment she wins quite a lot. Why does she win? Well, she wins because people don't give a fuck about how her champion kit works, so they just walk into her despite her being in stealth, which means that she actually benefits a lot in solo queue. She actually wins in every elo at the moment as well, except like really low elo. So where we start to see Evelynn do fine is like gold. And yeah, in terms of the meta, I mean, she's not the best because obviously you don't level 3 gank, and she has like some pretty big issues, but those issues don't really come true until you play in like higher elo, like master above. Below that, they don't really exist as much. And yeah, I mean, she's pretty playable. So I'm gonna give her like a 7 to 8 as well. She still has the same issues as always as Evelynn, but in terms of her position in the meta right now, she is pretty fine. In terms of improvement, she is pretty fine, but you have to actually choose to improve on her. The issue being here that you can play the same way every game and try to play like that, but she does have the options to do other stuff, you just have to choose to do it. So she can invade after level 6, she can farm, she can gank a bit, she can do a bunch of stuff, so if you choose to do it, then she actually has quite a few options. She's not like the most insane, because the problem is also some of her skills don't transfer to other champs, so I'm gonna give her like a 7 to 8 here as well. Mainly because stealth is really unique, and you're also gonna learn some pretty specific stuff to her because she's kind of more of a laner than she is a jungler in terms of how she plays, so yeah. Next up though is climbing. So for climbing, Evelynn is pretty good. I'm gonna give her like a solid 8 here. She doesn't really do too bad in terms of climbing. You do have to keep in mind that you won't win every game on her, because it's gonna be a lot easier to play consistent and try to win like 60, 70, maybe 80% than it is to win every single game, because you just don't have enough mechanics in your kit to cheat every single game into a win. I mean, stealth is technically able to do that, but only if the enemy chooses to walk into you, while other champions that can try to achieve a really high win rate can do so through their own kit rather than the way that the enemy walks and plays. So yeah, in terms of fun, she's either going to be I mean, this champion is really bipolar. Like, either you're gonna have like 0 fun on her and it's gonna be like 1 or 2 out of 10, like completely unfun, or you're gonna have a great time and it's gonna be like an 8 out of 10. So I'm gonna not fill this out, and you can fill this out for yourself, because I mean, it just really depends on the type of person you are. It depends way too much to even say if you're gonna have fun on it or not. In terms of how good she is to OTP, she's not. I mean, so this is the main issue with Evelynn, right? So you have to be an OTP to really make use of her, or you have to be really, really good at the game and decent at Evelynn anyway. So think like Zip, aka Bo. That guy's really good at the game and he's decent on Evelynn anyway, so he does well on it also. But otherwise, you pretty much have to be an OTP. But the problem is that she is not good for OTPing. I mean, like, I think she's like a 4. So the reason that I think she's like a 4 for OTPing is that while you're forced to OTP her to really make use of her, the problem is that she has like so many matchups that are just really unfavorable. Like, these creatures are not fun to play against. There's also like Jarvan. I don't know where Jarvan is, but okay. Oh no. Somewhere. Oh, here. Yeah. Like, a lot of the matchups are really bad for you. Then if your draft, like your teammates don't have prio, aren't AD laners, and so on, then it instantly becomes like way worse to play. If the enemy comp has champions that counter you in lanes, then it also becomes way worse to play, and so on. So if you pick her, say that like first, second, and third pick are done on your side, and like 4 picks are done on enemy, right? And then you pick, and then you pick Evelynn when she's good, then you should be able to win like 95% of games from here, if you do well. If you're like better than the Silo, then you can pretty much win like 90 or more % of your games. But if you're the same skill level, but you pick her here, and then people are picking, then you should win like maybe like 60% or something. So your win rate legit increases by like 30% just by picking later. And obviously like picking when it's like good. So like these guys already picked AD, these guys didn't pick Evelynn counters. So yeah. That's why it's not that amazing to OTP, but it's fine otherwise. And that's gonna be the most frustrating part of playing Evelynn for you. The drafts and stuff. And also like people just dying like early and the game just being over before you start playing the game. Fiddlesticks has like similar issues, but he is a bit more versatile because he can play low econ as well. So Fiddlesticks is a champion that's been OP for like years, but people just don't play it. They refuse to play it, so I don't know. Like, it's like top of win rates right now. People are actually playing it a bit more than they used to, but they never liked playing it. And you can see that this champ does not take a lot of skill. Like, people are playing it and winning even in silver and gold, probably even in bronze. Yeah, even in bronze, they're winning more than they lose on it. So it's not really a hard champ or anything. It's just like people don't want to play it because it's pretty boring and pretty unique. So, yeah. But this champ is pretty insane. Also, the fact that Evelynn has a positive win rate against Fiddlesticks and Master Plus is something that shows you like how bad the people who play Fiddlesticks actually are. Because that matchup is like pretty much unplayable for Evelynn. Because his effigies, or well, his passive, the Scarecrow that he places, which is both a sweeper and a ward at the same time. It's kind of like a pink, but not exactly. Those things, they have like a 40-second cooldown after mid-game. And they also show Evelynn, so pretty much you cannot go anywhere because he places those things all around the map. And he also insta-fears you the moment when you appear, so I don't know how he really wins, how he loses games to her, but sure, I guess they can make it happen. In terms of the meta, I think he is probably like at least an 8. Honestly, I would say even more, but I think that the people who play it are like so bad. I think if someone was actually like a good OTP on this shit, then I don't know, it'd probably be like a 9. And especially after the ganking jungler nerfs, because he's gonna have probably an even easier time with getting to level 6 consistently and not having issues. But honestly, he can even gank and whatever he wants on his own. I don't know what runes they play at the moment. Probably First Strike because they're NPCs. Yeah. Honestly, you can play this shit. You can play Predator. You can play whatever you want. I don't think it matters too much what you do on it. So for improvement, I think this champ is okay. I mean, he's not too hard. Only thing you really have to learn on him is just his clear. He doesn't have options to really invade and stuff though, so you won't learn that stuff. So in the end, it's probably like a 7 maybe at best. For climbing though, it's, I don't know, the champ is like cheating. I would just say it's like a 9. Because, okay, if you do well, then you pretty much just like can solo carry your game. If you play well enough, and if you do bad, then at least you can ult and you have high impact anyway. So I think it's really insane. Fun, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's probably fun to be like a scarecrow and just like ult in and kill everyone, but it's not like one of those super fun champs. And for OTPing, this champ only has the issue of, well, I mean, it has like a small issue against like champs that can like mess them up early. But other than that, it's mainly the issue of being solo AP, or well, needing to be solo AP, or well, not needing but preferring to be solo AP. But honestly, I would say that it's not as bad for him as it is for the other champs, because he can still go like utility stuff. And I think that he's a solid like at least 7 on this, maybe an 8. Let's see, let's just give him an 8. Fuck it. Probably one of the better champs in jungle, if you're actually willing to play this shit. Okay, so then I think this video is going to drag on for like a really long time if I keep doing it in this format, isn't it? So maybe we like speedrun it a bit more. So Gragas, same issues as before, wants to be solo AP or something, though he can also go tank or something, but you don't really prefer to go tank on Gragas in jungle. You can still do stuff, but he's pretty similar to Fiddle. I mean, in the meta, he's like really strong. I think he's like an 8 or a 9 easily. I think this champ is like quite OP at the moment, honestly. Like, it also wins a lot, as you can see. I don't really use this to check how strong they are, but I think it shows it pretty well. But this champ does better in high elo than it does in low elo. That is something to keep in mind. So the higher elo you go, the more you will see it and the more it's gonna win. Improvement-wise, this champ can also do pretty well. I think he's like at least a 7 or an 8. Pretty crazy good. Climbing-wise, he's like an 8 also. Pretty good. I mean, honestly, there isn't too much of a difference between like 7 to 8 to 9. Like, if I say an 8, then I mean like a 7 to 8 to 9, and if I say like a 7, then I mean like a 6, 7 to 8 or something, you know? It's kind of like, you can't really define it by a single number that well, but I'm just trying my best. So how fun he is, I think he's like pretty fun for people. You can do like some bomb combos, like place your Q, then like E enemy and ult them and stuff. And how good he is to OTP. He has value even without being solo AP. He has some issues in just some specific comps, but I think it's pretty rare. So I think he's like a pretty good champ overall. And we're gonna give him like an 8 or something total. Next champ is Graves. In terms of in the meta right now, I think he is pretty meh. If we look, then his win rates are pretty bad, but his win rates are always pretty bad, so that is something to keep in mind. But his win rates at the moment are like abysmal. But even without win rates, like this champ is just not that good right now, I think. Like a 4 or a 5, maybe. Probably not gonna give any champ like a 1 out of 10 in meta, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I can even give him a 3 if you want. Why not? Fuck it. I'm a bit too generous with my ratings on this, I think. A bit top heavy. Okay, for improvement. He's like usually pretty good for improvement, but the problem is he still has like ways to cheat through it. So in terms of options, he is one of the better junglers. So he has like quite a few options, but his ganking isn't the best. And also he has like, as I said, some ways to cheat like permafight and stuff. So I'm gonna give him like a 6.5 or maybe like a 7. Let's give him like a 7 maybe. 10. For climbing, he at the moment obviously it's not the best because of meta, but usually he is pretty good because he's like a solo carry champ. You do have to put in quite a lot of effort though to achieve that oftentimes, while there are champs that do it easier, so that's why I don't give him a full score. But in terms of how hard he can carry, it's probably even above 8, but it takes effort, so a bit less. I think it's really fun though, so maybe like a 7 to 8. And how good he is to OTP? He's like pretty fine against like a lot of comps, and he's also AD, so he doesn't have the solo AP issue, and it's not that likely to get full AD and stuff, so pretty good. In the end, we're gonna say that maybe wait until his spot in the meta is better, and then you could actually pick him up, but at the moment, maybe not the best pick. Hecarim, we're gonna say that his spot in the meta is better than Graves, but it's not amazing either. I think he's like fine ish. Like as you can see here, he does like okay. Maybe I'm like underrating him a little bit. Maybe he deserves like a 6. Fine, let's give him like a 6 maybe. He's not that bad. Especially because he will likely be better in next patch when the jungle changes come through. In terms of improvement, he is actually pretty decent, I think. Like a 7 to 8. The reasoning being the same things as I said before. He has quite a few options. He can also clear pretty well. He's pretty consistent. And you can play into quite a few things. And you can also play both low and high econ, kinda, though you do prefer to play high econ, but you can still try to be useful. You're not like Evelynn where, oh, I'm 0-5, I guess I just do nothing. You just don't do anything in the rest of the game. While this champ will still be able to do stuff rest of the game. Or at least try to. In terms of climbing, he's also quite good. I'm gonna give him like an 8 out of 10. Mostly because his spot in the meta isn't that good right now. I think that when he is really good, especially when Hecarim Yuumi was like the meta, maybe if it becomes like meta again, like some enchanter plus Hecarim, then that can like easily be like a 9 or a 10 because it's not too hard to play. Like this is really straightforward, and with those enchanters was like completely broken and unskilled, so one of the best ways to climb at that point. In terms of fun, I think he's also pretty high, like a 7 to 8. The reason that I think he's pretty fun is because you get to fight a lot. And he actually has options to like try to outplay or whatever. It's not really outplay, but it feels like outplay, so we can just call it outplay. And then in terms of how good he is to OTP, I think he's also like pretty good to OTP. As I said, he's not AP. He also slots it to a decent amount of comps. He has like some inherent value with his E and his ult. He can be tanky or he can be more damage, and in the end it works out. So not too bad. Also, those duos make him like pretty OP usually. Ivern, yeah, I don't know. I think this champ is always OP, but it always loses somehow. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say too much about this champ, so I think I'll just skip it, because I think this champ is completely overpowered and people just don't play it. I think it's also really unskilled, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know, so I won't say. Jarvan is like peak of meta right now, so I don't know, let's give him like a 9 in meta. For improvement, he is also pretty decent because, first of all, he's not hard to play. Like, you can play it even if you're pretty handless. You have like 10 builds you can play. You have like 10 paths you can do. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So easily like 8 to 9 out of 10 as well at the moment. For climbing, he's also easily like 8 to 9. He can be a hard carry, or he can be a supportive champ, or he can be a tank, or he can be a bruiser, or he can be like assassin, or he can be whatever the fuck you want to be. In terms of fun, I think he's not as fun as some of the other champs, but because of how broken he is right now, he's probably like still a 7 or 8. Excuse me. And how good he is to OTP, he's AD, he has so many options, he's broken right now, so 8 to 9 easily as well. One of the better champs in jungle to pick up right now, especially because he's in the meta right now. If he wasn't in the meta, he would still get pretty decent ratings, but not as high as he gets right now. Okay, so next up we have Karthus. This champ is not the best in jungle right now. If we look at its stats, then like negative win rate. It's negative like lower elo as well. Probably like somewhere down here. Yeah, 48. It always does like pretty meh and pretty low elo because you don't actually make use of the strengths. In higher elo, it's not as bad right now, but still not the best. We're gonna give it like a 45 out of 10. If you pick it in like perfect scenarios, where you're like solo AP and your laners are perfect and enemy isn't like countering you, then it's decent, but other than that, it's kind of meh. For improvement, it tends to be like pretty okay for improvement, but the problem is that you can always blame you missing Qs. So if you didn't have the issue with Q being a skill shot, then it would be really good for improvement because it can invade, it can fight, it can gank a bit, not the best ganks, but whatever. It can farm, it can do whatever. But yeah, the Q stuff is an issue, so we're gonna give it like a 6 to 7. I'm taking off 3 points instantly for the Q being like a skill shot and being such an integral part of its kit. So yeah. For climbing, at the moment, it's not that amazing. Usually, though, it's pretty decent, but not amazing either. So I'm gonna give it like a 7 to 8, maybe. That's what it usually has. It takes quite a bit of effort, like Graves, to climb, so that's why. In terms of fun, this is like a hit or miss champ, so I'm just gonna give it an X, like Evelynn. Either you really enjoy it or you really don't like it. You either find it really boring or really fun. For me, it's like really fun. For other people, it's really boring. And then for OTP, this champ has many of the same issues as Evelynn and comps and stuff, so again, 3 to 4. I don't know what I gave Evelynn, but I probably gave her a 4, but she's also like 3 to 4 or something, so in the end, pretty similar, but he is just in a worse spot in the meta than she is, so that's why there's that difference. Okay, so let's go through Kayn. Kayn, I think that I don't see Kayn too much, but in terms of what I think, it's that red Kayn is actually pretty fine, and blue Kayn is like not that good. That's my impression anyway. I could be wrong. He does seem to do well in every elo, or at least like decent, so he usually does fall off in win rate also as you go higher. I think if you play like red Kayn, I'm gonna talk about red Kayn only because I think the blue Kayn is just worse at the moment. I think that red Kayn is probably like pretty decent, maybe like 7 at most out of 10 in meta. Actually, I mean 7 I think it's pretty fair. Maybe it's a bit better or a bit worse, but let's just say that it's something like this. In terms of improvement, I think it's pretty cheesy also, and pretty unique, so I'm gonna give it like a lower score, like a 6. Not that amazing. For climbing, we're gonna say that he is, I think he's actually pretty good for climbing. He always like does pretty well at carrying games if you do fine. If you don't do well on red Kayn, then still you have some inherent value because of knockup, because of healing, because you're just annoying for the enemy, and so on, and I think it's fine. In terms of fun, I think it's pretty good as well. So we're gonna give it a pretty decent score. Let's give it something like an 8 as well. I think it's a pretty fun champ. And in terms of its score for OTPs, we're gonna say that it's actually quite good as an OTP champ. Because this champ has so many options. Like you can go blue, red, whatever. You can go like 10 different builds. You can go red with damage build. You can go blue with bruiser build. You can go red with bruiser build, red with damage build. You can go like tanky build. I don't know. You can go kind of whatever you want. So tends to work out. Okay. Next champ is Kha'zix. This champ is, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's the best. If we look at the stats, it's yeah, Kha'zix, classic Kha'zix, and low elo does a bit better because, well, it's easier to snowball. This champ is pretty meh, I'm gonna say. Let's give it like a 4 to 5. I don't think this champ is very good. In terms of improvement, this champ is not the worst, but the problem is that this champ is just not the best in the meta and stuff. And the way it works, like you kind of need a lead to be like really useful. And because you kind of need a lead and you start the game from behind, it's kind of awkward. So I'm gonna give it like a 6 maybe. It's not the worst because it's kind of simple to play and it has like quite a few options, but like you can't fight a lot of junglers. You can't invade like that many. Sometimes you can invade, but they have to be like pretty weak. And like full clearing is so slow, so I don't know, kind of awkward to play this champ a bit. For climbing in low elo, he's like, I'd say an 8 because it can carry pretty hard when it gets fed. And then high elo maybe like a 6, so let's just average out to 7. It's not like that horrible. I mean, if you can get fed or something, it's like okay. Like this champ is just definition of okay. Because it has 4 evolves, so it's pretty versatile. It has also bruiser and damage builds, and in the end, I think it's like a pretty fun champ. So yeah, gonna give it like an 8. And how good it is to OTP? I think in terms of how good it is to OTP, it's like pretty good as well. I'm doing this independently of the strength this time, and that's why I give it an 8. If I also included how good it is in the meta and stuff, then I would bump it down. But conceptually, it's like fine to OTP because you have so many options of what you can do. Okay, Kindred. So for Kindred, in the meta right now, she is fine. Like if we look, okay, so we have this, right? And then if we look at like some low elo stuff, where is she? Probably lower because it's like ADC in jungle, yeah. So she's like fine in the meta because she does fine in high elo, but obviously in low elo she is not ever gonna be really amazing because she's reliant on stuff like invades and stuff. But yeah, she's like a solid, let's say 7 or 8 in high elo probably, at least, and she's like a 5 in low or 4. So let's just average her out to like a 6 in total. In terms of improvement, she's actually pretty decent because she can full clear, she can level 3 gank, she can even level 2 gank if you really wanted to for some reason. She can invade at levels like 1, 2, 3. I mean, 1 is really uncommon, but whatever. Let's just say that she can anyway, because I mean, technically she can. And she has quite a few options. She doesn't have that many options for builds, but kinda does. And her pathing is really varied. So that's the good stuff. The bad thing is that she is an ADC in jungle, so you have to learn ADC gameplay for some reason in jungle. Then there's also the issue of her having a bit too many options and also being a bit too focused on invades and stuff. So in the end, she kind of like forces you to do more stuff that you don't want to do, but you also have to learn like the marking system, which is really unique to her, and it becomes kind of awkward. So I would feel bad giving her more than like a 6 out of 10 on this. For climbing, I think she's really good though. She can carry really hard. Not gonna give her like full marks because I think it is quite a bit of effort unless you play something stupid like the Kindred Lulu funnel or something where you play with like Lulu mid and you play Kindred and it's probably like a 10. So let's just say that it could be like 10 in scenarios. Fun. Pretty fun champ if you enjoy ADCs. And how good she is to OTP? Pretty decent. The reason I'm gonna give her a bit of a lower score than some other ones is because she is so reliant on getting stuff done on the map that if your draft is like completely useless and you can't do anything, it feels like pretty bad to play. For Elise in the meta right now, he's quite good. If we look where exactly he stands, positive win rate while having a 20% pick rate and being considered a hard champion, which is kind of a joke, by the way. He does pretty badly in low elo though, but in high elo, I mean, just complete OP. So in high elo, we're gonna give him like a 9, and in low elo, we're gonna give him like a 6, so we're gonna average it out to like 7 to 8 out of 10. And for improvement, Lee Sin is gonna make her list with a pretty low score. While he is pretty versatile and can do pretty much anything you want, he has the highest cope meter, where you can get distracted and do random shit and just fight and whatever. So not good for improving at all. For climbing though, I think it's like pretty good. So we're gonna give him like an 8. He can carry really hard, he can do stuff. It does take quite a bit of effort. That's why I'm giving him less. Otherwise I think he would be a 9 or something. But the effort part makes him like a 7 to 8. In terms of fun, I think he's one of the most fun junglers in the game. If you actually enjoy his playstyle, I don't really enjoy it too much, so not for me, but for other people I can imagine it being like really fun, and people do say it's really fun, so I'll rate it based on that. And how good it is to OTP also works in most games and stuff, so I'm also gonna give it like a 9 or something. It can work, but preferably it would already be decent at the game when you start OTPing this. Next up we have Lilia, but I haven't seen this champ in a while, so I don't know if I really want to talk about it too much. Like, this champ just does not win games. I think I'm not gonna talk about it because I haven't seen it in too long, and I have no clue how it is at the moment. So let's move on to Maokai instead. Okay, so Maokai, known to be a bit of a crack cocaine champion at the moment, but he did get nerfed, and his items also got nerfed. So at the moment, his win rate in high elo is actually pretty bad. His win rate in low elo is actually pretty mediocre as well. So not so OP anymore. We're gonna give him like a 6 still, because the reward versus skill is still a bit skewed. You still get a bit rewarded for being an NPC, but okay. It could still probably do better as well if the people who played it were actual Maokai players and not like people who just randomly pick it to abuse it. But yeah. For improvement, this champion is actually gonna be really good. He can actually do a lot of stuff. He can't invade and stuff, so that's something you won't really learn. But he's really, really simple to make up for it. Good ganks, can clear, can vary up his clear. So pretty good for improving. For climbing also, should be pretty good, but could be a bit hard to carry some games in low elo, or well, quite a few games, because if your teammates are fighting in lane instead of in jungle with Maokai, you might find some issues. How fun he is, this like depends on the type of person you are. If you're like the type of person who likes to stat check people and like mess them up without interaction, then he's probably like an 8 or a 9. Like you probably just sit there and laugh like an NPC. If you are the type of person that likes to play the game more with your own champion and not with saplings, then you probably feel like an NPC when you play that. So a bit of a balance there. So I'm just gonna give it a 6 and then could be fun, could not be. Depends on the type of person you are. How good it is to OTP? You do prefer to be solo AP again. but most comps shouldn't be that bad for you, so we're gonna give it like a 7 at least. So yeah, overall pretty solid, but not the Demon King it used to be. Alright, Master Yi. Master Yi. So if we look at this champ, right, it's gonna have like pretty bad win rates. I mean, I don't think it's even necessary to even look in low elo because it usually does pretty well in terms of win rate in low elo. But at the moment it's not doing so well. So that tells you like some interesting stuff, like maybe it has some issues at the moment, right? But this champion just has a pretty dumb design where it just runs its stuff and does a lot of damage and then does nothing else. So kind of a boring champion design, and I hope they rework it. And also like fix the W being like 6-second cooldown for no reason and just permanently being up, which is not exactly so fun and cool. But yeah, in terms of the meta, I don't know, we're gonna put it like a 5, so it does like okay, but it's not amazing. In terms of improvement, also like a 5, it doesn't do too well, but it's not like horrible either. It's not hard to play, but it's not very skilled and doesn't teach you much, so meh. In terms of climbing, it's probably like a bit above average because it's like a pretty decent carry, but there are like better champs to pick. I mean, I guess, okay, we can give it like a 7 because it's really low effort. It takes like 0 effort to play in like silver or gold as Master Yi, so I guess we can say that. And like bronze, probably still has like a high win rate in like bronze, most likely. It doesn't. Crazy, man. I mean, I guess it's because Rammus is the most picked shit in bronze. Holy fuck, what are they picking, man? This is so disgusting. Okay, I mean, of course he doesn't win any games. Like, look what he's playing against. Rammus, Mordekaiser, Amumu, Jarvan. How can he kill this? Bruh, he is not killing this. He's not cooking. Let's just put him back on 6. 6 out of 10. Fun? I don't know, pretty average. Nothing special. And I think OTPing also nothing special. Like, nothing really interesting about this champ. Nidalee's pretty interesting though, so let's move on to Nidalee. So in terms of the meta, she is pretty much like a 7 to 8. She's not like the best of the easiest to play and stuff, but she does win quite a bit, and it's not too bad because she can adapt to most metas. So if she has to gank, she can gank. If she has to clear, she can clear. In terms of her options, she has pretty much the most diverse options in jungle, I think. But the problem is that she also has pretty much the highest skill ceiling in jungle, so that becomes like an issue. So for improvement, she becomes maybe like a 6. So because her options and stuff, like everything outside of her difficulty is like a 10 out of 10 for improvement, when her difficulty is like, she's like the hardest one, so that's like, I don't know, 2 out of 10, so in the end we just have like a 6. Then like for climbing, she is pretty good. It takes quite a bit of effort to carry on her though. So I just deduct some points. And then, in terms of how fun it is, we have, I think our first 10 out of 10 is actually really fun, in my opinion. Might be a bit biased because it's one of my favorite champs to play in jungle, but yeah. Then how good she is to OTP, I would also say she's like a 9. Does have the issue of being AP, but that's like the only issue I really have with her. She also has like some issues into some comps, but she can cheat pretty much anything because she can play for early game, and if she snowballs early, then it doesn't really matter too much what the comp is, so you can win even against unfavorable comps. Nocturne, I mean, this champ will... Where is it? This champ will not win you games. Not in high elo. But in low elo, it wins like pretty much every game. So, so yeah. If you're low elo, then this champ in the meta is pretty much like top tier. If you're high elo, this champ is pretty much garbage. So we're gonna give it like a 7 in the end. So like a 9 or something in low elo. And a 5 or something in high elo. I don't know, 4. For improvement, the champ is pretty good as well. It has quite a few options. It doesn't invade that commonly, but that's like the only thing. It's really simple to play as well. So an easy 8. For climbing, also really good. Not bad at all. How fun it is, I think it's like a pretty fun champ, so 7 to 8. I think it's like pretty enjoyable. You just like clear, you go like darkness, you dash on people, you like fight them. Pretty fun. For OTPing, not too many issues as well. So really solid champ overall. Quite recommend, especially if you're low elo. If you're low elo, I think that it's one of the better picks in the game. Probably one of the best. Okay, Nunu. What a joke of a champ. What a fucking joke of a champion. So this one is like the opposite. If you're low elo, then people don't abuse the lead, but in high elo, it's just like no counterplay, perma-gank bullshit. So now we're giving it a 9 in high elo and like a 6 in low elo. So we're gonna end up with like an 8. I don't know, 7, 8, whatever. For improvement, complete like 4 out of 10. You're not learning shit playing this champ. For climbing though, good. You will climb, probably. How fun it is? Okay, same thing as before. It depends if you're like one of those people who enjoys stat checking people, or if you're one of those people that enjoys feeling like you actually did something in the game. I'm not saying that you don't do anything if you play Nunu in the game. I'm just saying that a lot of people won't feel like they did a lot. Like if you compare how you feel when you play Nidalee and how you feel when you play Nunu, I think many people will feel like they're doing a lot more when they play Nidalee, even if they're doing more on Nunu. So I'm gonna give him a 5. Has potential to maybe be fun for some people. Has potential to be really unfun for other people and just mid for other people as well. For the remaining people, I meant. As for OTPing, pretty fine. Don't see a big issue. He also has 2 builds, AP and tank, so a bit versatile. Overall, good for abusing to climb, but not too good in the long term. Poppy, I mean, I don't really feel like talking about this because I rarely ever see it and it's not really a jungler. So I think I'll just skip it. Rammus, I mean, OP in low elo, whatever in high elo, but still OP. Not as OP in high elo as it is in low, but still OP. So this champ is just cocaine. Let's just give it a 9. For improvement, I mean, this champ has some traps, like you can perma-gank and stuff, which can be kind of misleading in terms of gameplay, and it also kind of incentivizes that, so I'm gonna give it an 8 instead of higher. I think it's like really easy otherwise and has a lot of options, so it could have been higher, but because of the way that his Q and stuff work, you will get baited to like level 2, level 3 gank when you're not supposed to even, so yeah, and you might have it work as well, in which case you will build bad habits. For climbing, this champ is, I mean, it's OP champ, so it's just good. How fun it is. I mean, I think it's like pretty fun. You'll just like laugh when you click on the enemy ADC with W and E and he just like dies to his own auto attacks, so I guess, and I mean, it's OP, so you might as well OTP it as well. Really solid champ, can abuse. Let's hope it gets nerfed and then we can play something skilled in jungle, maybe cope. Rek'sai, this champ is like always good in jungle. I don't know. At the moment though, it's like a bit mid. But still, not bad. In low elo it does pretty bad though, as you can see. But in high elo it does better, so the higher elo you are, the better this champ usually does because of its perma ganking pressure. It's kind of like Nunu and stuff, but I think that due to pro play, this champ gets regulated more compared to like Nunu. Like if Nunu wasn't pro play like Rek'sai, then Nunu would also get nerfed to be like Rek'sai, but it's not, so yeah. Still not bad, so I'm gonna give it like a 7. It's always like decent as well. That's why for OTPing, I'm instantly gonna give it like an 8, because this champ is never horrible. It's always at least decent. And in the best case scenario, it's broken. And the worst case scenario, it's decent, so. Yeah. Not good for improving though, because perma gank like Nunu, bullshit, but it's a bit better because you have a few more incentives to not be a complete NPC. But actually, I'm gonna give it a 5, not a 6, because Roy Demon exists, only because of that. Because that guy should not be existing. Climbing wise, this champ is gonna be pretty decent. So we're gonna give it a decent score. And in terms of fun, I think it's also pretty fun. So if you want to abuse, again, sure. If you want to play the game long term, then don't recommend. Too much of a coin flippy perma ganking playstyle. Okay, Rengar, OP as fuck. I don't know how it does in low elo, so I'll check that actually. And as per usual, this champ does not win in low elo. Classic, but it's broken. Really broken, unreal broken in high elo. So I permaban it. So let's say it's like an 8 or a 9 in high elo, and it's like a 4 in low, so we're gonna average it out to like a 7. I would feel bad giving this champ less than a 7 at any point. For OTPing also, this champ is like amazing, because this champ, like, people think it's like really skilled and stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna comment too much on that. I mean, you can like say that it's like it has like some tricks, but it's really overtuned, overloaded, and everything in between. The problem is that I don't know why it has like perma jump, perma cleanse, perma full heal on its spells, but sure, I guess. I mean, happens. For improvement, it's like pretty horrible because of the stuff I just mentioned, where you have literally perma jump and cleanse on your spells, so, and full heals, so you don't get punished for the mistakes you make oftentimes. And then when the people like coordinate together a bit better, then you suddenly start dying, and there's literally just like a line, and this is like enemy skill, right? Like enemy skill. And until they reach this line, you will just always live, no matter what you do. And after you reach this line, you will always die in these scenarios. And that's just really bad for improving. It's just a toxic design. In terms of fun, I think it's also like one of the most fun champs in jungle. And in terms of climbing, it's also really good at carrying. But it's not very good for improving, so yeah. If you're already decent at the game, then you can actually pick up this champ and you can play it. If not, then I wouldn't recommend it too much. Because it's not going to be too easy to improve on. It also baits you into thinking that the way that you played the fights is why you lost the game or won the game. And that is not the best. Sejuani is perma good in meta. So this champ is permanently good in meta, but at the moment it doesn't win any games in high elo. And it also doesn't look like it's winning too many games in low elo. But yeah, I mean, if you play it until like gold, it's like decent, I think. Where is it, man? I'm like blind. Yeah, here. So like the lower elo you go, the better this champ is doing at the moment. But even in high elo, people consider it decent at least. So I'll give it like a bit higher score in high, so like 5. And in low elo, like below plat, I'll give it like an 8 or something. So let's total it out to like a 6 to 7 out of 10. I think a lot of the people who play it are also auto-filter NPCs, so that also affects it. For improvement, she's actually pretty decent for improvement. She has so many options and she's really simple to play, so I'm gonna give her like an 8, honestly. For climbing, pretty decent as well. Not exactly like a full-on carry champ, so I'm gonna give her like a bit less, but still good. In terms of fun, I don't know, if you like to stat check people, probably fun. It's also pretty funny to watch when she just like kills people with her damage. That's a bit overtuned, but yeah. And for OTPing, I think she's like pretty good, so pretty solid champ overall. The clown. Now this might be controversial, but I hate this champ. I hate the clown. I don't think he's funny. In terms of how many games it wins, I can't even find it because my brain blocks it out. I don't like this champ because if you don't have CC in your kit, then it's next to impossible to kill it, and its clone like only wants you. But objectively, this champ just does not win a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like okay to OTP. I'll start from there. I think it's like decently fun, but not like the most fun champ in the game. For climbing, it's also like decent because you just like snowball pretty hard, but at the same time, you can have some issues compared to other champs. For improvement, it's kind of meh, whatever. And in terms of where it is in the meta, it's going to be like kind of meh as well. So overall, kind of meh of a champion, so let's move on. Shyvvana. So Ivern actually likes to play this, and he's rank 1 in US. Not sure if he plays this right now, but in terms of how it's doing, in high elo it's pretty meh, and in low elo it's fine. So yeah, I think Riot Flux, the guy who's, I think he's like one of the people working on champion balance. He also plays this shit, so yeah, that's interesting. It does have many options though. It can go tank, it can go AD, and it can go AP. So for OTPing, I'm actually giving it a pretty good score. I think it's also like pretty fun because you have like different play styles, and you can play for E-spell, you can play for auto attacks, you can play to be tanky, you can play to like jump in, you can do a lot of stuff. For climbing, I'm also gonna say it's like a pretty good carry, so pretty interesting. For improving, I think it's like pretty easy to play, and it has a decent amount of options. It doesn't really invade, but other than that, it's doing like okay. I'm gonna give it like a bit lower score because it doesn't interact with enemy jungler properly. And in terms of the meta, I'm gonna give it like a bit of a lower score. But yeah, would say that this champ can be a pretty decent pick for you if you actually like it. And when it's pretty good in the meta, you'll get rewarded for playing it right now. It's already decent, but if it's like really good in the meta, you'll get rewarded a lot more. Okay, Skarner. Yeah, you can see that this champ has a pretty low pick rate. It's like barely picked. Can I find it here? Yeah, see, like it's barely picked in any elo. It does win games though, but it's OTPs playing it, so who knows. The OTPs are like kind of NPCs, though I won't lie to you. Like every time I see a Skarner, they're like NPC and griefing, so I don't know. I don't see this champ enough, so I won't say. Yeah, I don't know. I just won't say. I think conceptually, I can guess it. I don't know where he is in the meta, so I won't rate that. But for improvement, I think he's like pretty good because you have like a decent amount of stuff you can do. You also have like different builds you can play. For climbing, I think he's also pretty decent because I think he can carry pretty well. For fun, I think he can be pretty fun if you enjoy his playstyle. And I think he's a pretty decent champ to OTP. Alright, so then we're getting Sylas. Yeah, don't play this. TLDR, don't play this. This champ takes too much effort for what it gives. It's just not worth it. I don't know, like, let's give it a 6 in OTPing. Let's give it like an 8 in fun. Let's give it like an 8 in climbing. Let's give it like a 4 in improving. And let's not give it a meta rating because the meta rating is like awkward for this champ because it really depends on who plays it. It's like different if Faker plays it or like Joe Schmo. Trundle though is an interesting case because Trundle probably has a pretty low win rate. Yeah. But he can actually be pretty decent into some stuff. But yeah, he's just not being picked right now, and he's not considered that good right now, which is fair enough. But I think you can make him work. So I'm gonna give him like a 5 in the meta. I think that he is losing a bit more than he deserves to. For improvement, he's usually pretty decent, pretty simple champ that can do stuff, can do a lot of stuff. He can clear, or he can gank, or he can invade, or he can do whatever. For climbing, he's usually pretty decent as well. He's like a pretty funny champ to play. He's like decent to OTP. If he was better in the meta, then I would say that this stuff would improve a bit. But yeah. Okay, Udyr, the Malice favorite. So what is Udyr doing right now in terms of win rate, right? The Demonic got nerfed, Udyr also got nerfed, so his win rate did fall down. But as you can see, his win rate is still positive in every elo, pretty much. So we're gonna give him like a positive score on the meta thing. But he's not like as complete peak of meta anymore. You probably have to actually be decent on him to make him as broken now. Because the more broken he was, the less you had to be able to play it to make it work. But I think it's still like pretty OP if you actually know how to play it. For improvement, it's pretty good. It can do anything at once, literally anything. It can invade, it can gank, it can do whatever, like really whatever. So we're gonna give it like an 8. It's also like easy to play. Honestly, I might as well just give it a 9. You can literally do whatever you want on this shit. For climbing, also really good. How fun it is, I mean, this again depends on the type of person you are. If you enjoy this stat check, run around, like laugh at the enemy playstyle, then it's like a 10 for you probably. If you like the trick to G, open the gates. If you don't like that, then it's probably like a 1. So I'm gonna give it like a 6 in the end. And for OTPing, I think it's good because it just has options. It has different builds as well you can go, so it's fine. Okay, Vi is really strong. If we look exactly how strong she is at the moment, she's gonna have a negative win rate, of course. Classic. But she's gonna have a really good win rate in low elo. So if you're a lower elo, then this is a really simple champ that you can pick up and do well on. If you're high elo, this champ might be a bit handicapped, so you might have some issues with it. But yeah. In terms of the meta, for a low elo, it's probably like an 8. For a high elo, it's probably like a 5. So we're gonna average it out to like a 7. Fuck it. Maybe it's like, whatever, man. I don't care. It's 7. Stay mad. For improvement, pretty decent as well. Honestly, let's even give it a bit higher score. It has like, it can help you improve pretty well. It's fine. For climbing, this champ can do a lot actually. It's like pretty good at carrying when it's fed. And it has like bruiser, assassin, and stuff builds, tanks, so pretty good. It's pretty fun also. It's kind of like a fist fighter game, so yeah, and it's fine to OTP. Solid champ, do recommend if you're low elo, for sure. Okay, so next champ is Viego. Don't play. TLDR, don't play. I mean, if we look at high elo win rate on Viego, it's completely negative. If we look at low elo win rate in Viego, it's also going to be negative. Yeah. This champ does not win games. So it's not as bad as the win rate suggests, in my opinion. So in high elo, we're going to give it like a 6, and in low elo, we're going to give it like a 3 or something. Actually, like, let's just give it a 4 either way. Fuck it, man. Just give it a 4 either way. If you're actually good on it, you can make it work, kinda, but why would you? It's like too much effort for no reason. When there are other champs that can do the same thing, but easier. For improvement, complete bait. Half your champion's kit is like QW, so that's like easy, so that's good. But then the other half of your kit is when you take like a possession of someone, and then you have to be able to play like every champ in the game, and that is just not good, man. So yeah. For climbing, I mean, it can carry really hard if you're actually better than the enemy. For fun, it's, I mean, one of the most fun champs in the game because you get to play basically every champ in the game and you get to just like jump around, resets and stuff. So really fun in my opinion. For OTPing also, I mean, like I'm gonna give it an 8. I was gonna give it a 10, but at this point, like if you're OTPing Viego, you're not even OTPing Viego. You're basically like playing like half a champ, and then like the other half is like every other champ in the game. So yeah, I don't know. It might help you learn the meta champs though, because you're gonna end up playing them a decent amount. Like Volibear, I can't even find stats for. Like, am I just blind or are they not here? Like, bro, this champ doesn't even have stats on the site. I'm not rating this. I've not seen this champ in so long. I'm not rating this either because I haven't seen it in a while. I'll just rate it off what I think. I'm not rating it in the meta though because I don't know. For improvement, it's pretty decent though. It's like pretty simple to play and stuff. 7 or 8. For climbing, it's pretty decent as well. 7 or 8. It's just not the best, but yeah, it's usually just not that good. But it's usually like fine. For fun, I don't know, maybe like a 6. It's kind of a funny champ. And for OTPing, also kind of a 6. So fine, solid, but not the best. There are better champs I've mentioned, like Nocturne or Jarvan or stuff like that. Wukong though, this champ is OP. OP. It does pretty well in high elo, but you have to keep in mind that this champ is picked like 10% of the time, so half the people who play it have no clue how to play Wukong. And then in low elo, it just like wins every game, so honestly, it doesn't even matter if you know how to play it, like it just works either way. In high elo, we're gonna give it like a 7, and in low elo, we're gonna give it like a 9, so 8 to 9 total in meta. It's really good, honestly. For improvement, pretty simple champ. You can cheat a little bit, but solid. Completely solid. For climbing, also really good. Honestly, might even give it a 9. It's really good at carrying. You can go also bruiser or more damage or more tanky or whatever. Pretty fun also. And good to OTP. Really good champ. Do recommend. Low elo, high elo, either way recommended. Especially if you're low elo. In low elo, it's probably like a 9 out of 10 champ. If you're high elo, it's maybe like an 8. Just really good in my opinion. Xin Zhao, this champ is not that good. I mean, it does like average. It's like, why would you pick Xin Zhao when you can pick Wukong, you know? Like in low elo, where is it even, man? It's average again. Right? Like, you see what I mean? Like, why would you pick this when you can pick the champ that's right next to it? That's just better. But yeah, okay, I mean, in terms of meta, we're gonna give it a 6. It's not like the worst. I don't know. It's fine. You can play it, I guess. You can probably find some better way to play it than the average person also, so it's not that bad. In terms of improvement though, we're gonna give it a 7. It's not too bad to improve on, but there are just better champs. I think that this champ has a bit too awkward builds and stuff at the moment that you're gonna be forced to play if you actually want to make it decent, and then it's kind of awkward. I don't know. Not a fan. For climbing, same thing. For fun, I think it's like more boring than the other ones. And for OTPing, it's kind of whatever, man. Like there are some comps that are like you're really bad into. So in the end, it's kind of mediocre. Like, I mean, maybe this champ would get a higher rating if it wasn't coming right after Wukong. Like, in my head, I'm just comparing it to Wukong, and I'm just like, why the fuck would you play this, man? Then Zac, this champ was really OP. Like, let's see where this champ is now. Like, okay, it's doing like mediocre. It's probably still broken in low elo. Of course it is, because this champ is always going to be broken in low elo. So if you're low elo, this champ is still a 9 out of 10. So 9 in low, and then it's like a 6 in highs because it's unskilled. So let's give it like a 7 to 8 out of 10 in meta score. In terms of improvement, this champ is fine, but it cheats too much, so doesn't make it in the top tiers. Like cheats as in like you can just like fail everything and get rewarded anyway. You can play in like really bad ways and be rewarded and stuff, so yeah. In terms of climbing, I don't know. It's again, same thing as before. If you're low elo, then this champ is amazing to climb on. If you're high elo, then it's a bit worse. But I think this is more like a 7.5 than anything. How fun it is. I mean, if you enjoy, like, if you laugh when you watch, like, a Zac one-shot an ADC while being full tank, then it's probably like a 9 for you. If you cringe when you watch that, then it's probably like a 3 for you, or a 2. So I'm gonna give it a 5, and you can determine the rest for yourself. And how good it is to OTP, it's fine. Probably not gonna be able to remove all of this. Yeah. Use the eraser. Oh my god, we're finally on the last champ. Okay, it's a good thing I decided to go a bit faster, because otherwise this video would be like 2 hours. I don't know if I even made an intro today. Either way, fuck it, man. Fuck it. For Zed, like, mediocre. I'm already gonna tell you straight up. Like, the champ does not win games in jungle. Honestly, mediocre is probably like, nah, man. 2 out of 10. Farming sucks cock in jungle. Like, too hard for no reason. Too much effort, too much everything. It's like a 4 in climbing, because it can carry well, but effort, again, honestly, like a 4 is probably too generous. Like a 3, because it's so much effort, again, for no reason. You could just, like, honestly, you could pick Yasuo jungle, and it would be better, and less effort to carry on, probably, I think. Like, I'm not even joking, by the way. I think Yasuo jungle would be better than this. Or Yone jungle. Honestly, it doesn't even sound that bad. I think I've played it before as well. I did play both of those before. Fun. I mean, it's capped at 5. The issue is that it's so bad. Like, it's just so bad. Like, it's... You come into the game, and you feel like you're just griefing from minute 1. So it's just, like, bad. But if you actually manage to play it, and actually manage to get ahead on, then it's probably like an 8. It's, like, pretty fun. But I don't know. Like, so many games you're just not gonna be able to do anything, probably. And how good it is to OTP? 5 overall, probably. It would be better, but as I said, you're just not gonna get to play half the time. Okay, and that concludes all the jungle champs. And it should give you a general overview. I didn't include some of them that are not listed as junglers, like Jax and Talon and stuff. But honestly, like, you already know, the champs aren't even listed as junglers. Like, what's the point of even going through them? Like, I mean, if you're low elo, you might as well just play these champs anyway. Like, these champs are, like, you can play them with one hand, but you're not gonna improve so much on them, so some of them are, like, better than others. And Evelynn is also, like, fine for you. And if you're high elo, then, I mean, yeah, you might as well just play, like, these ones anyway. But, like, half of these are, like, a bit annoying to play, even if you're high. But yeah, either way, if you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.